All right, let's go.
All right. Once again, welcome. My name is Ken Silverman. I am the CEO of US FinTech, the designer of the EquityMint platform, and that is a platform for tokenization of real-world assets. I want to give you a little intro about how it works, but first I just want to make sure my understanding is correct here that we have a bunch of, for lack of a better word, actors on the phone with us today, playing different roles. And in the end of the day, we are providing a service that allows real world assets, one or more, to be represented as tokens, the same way that you might represent your company as a stock. You can represent one or more assets as a stock as well. And we call those stock issues. An issue is also a token. You might hear the word token used a lot in the crypto world. I don't like to use it, even though that's what we're creating here, because what we're creating is so much more. It's a token system, really. And when you give the token address to your potential investors, you're giving them a lot more than you know. You're giving them a piece of a much bigger system that allows that token to act like a stock on a stock exchange. That includes following all sorts of fancy rules like.
Hey, Ken, I think you're getting feedback because you have two devices on. You're going to have to cut, one of them has to be cut all the way off, so it's reverbing or whatever you call it, okay?
Well, I guess there is a mic on this one somewhere, and
Yeah.
we'll have to figure out how to turn that off. So let's see how we do that without turning off the screen share, or I can just speak quietly. Does
Well,
it work?
you can turn off the audio, touch the
Yeah, but
screen.
Turn the volume on your computer all the way down so it wouldn't.
And then mute the mic if it even has one. Okay, good.
um. All right, how is it now? Do you still hear me?
It's great now. It's not doubled, so you see it should be
No,
good.
you're good. Just continue. You're good.
Yeah, you
So
were
what
talking
you,
about the parts of the shares.
yeah, so essentially, you guys are gonna, or we are gonna create a token for your project. Assuming I'm speaking to the actors who are project owners, like a developer, like a CFO of a 100 unit building, like someone who owns mining rights, whatever it might be. If I'm talking to someone who wants to create their own set of or their own portal to represent such a set of projects, that's another conversation. We have all of that finished and ready to go, but that is not my primary purpose for this conversation. Just really want to show you what we can do here for the actual project. So
Hey Ken, this is Marcus. If you would, that would be very helpful for me too to see that portal that you're talking about. Right. So, but keep going, and then maybe we can do that a little later.
okay, good to know. Thank you. So, for example, you have a token address. You might give it to an investor, and they, as a user, would click Connect and Discover, and they would see that this token is associated with what we call a controller, which has sets of admin rights to control various parts of the system that we have yet to get into. There's also a content manager, a token sale manager, and like 7 other contracts. But these are the key ones. The content manager is what helps you. Uh, the way to look at the content manager is a signature of your subscription agreement. It's that simple. So let's get into that. For this token example, the eMint token itself, an earlier version of it, the first thing the user is going to be asked for is to verify the token, right? So it's going to expect that the investor has the subscription agreement in his hand. And so if you choose file, and then the file you choose is one that you just downloaded, which is the EquityMint subscription agreement, and then you click verify uploaded document, it says, hey, this PDF does in fact have a hash code that is in fact in the token, which is awesome. But the actual token address is not in the document. And that's because we didn't have the token address, nor will you after you make your subscription agreement until after you deploy the token or until after we deploy it for you. So that final extra step is just sticking the token address somewhere in your document and then putting it where you say it is. But just this alone, this checkbox means so much. It means this hash is not only in the token, it's part of one or more documents, but it is located where it says it's supposed to be, which is specifically equitymint.org/subscription agreement PDF. If it wasn't there, you wouldn't get this check mark. So a lot has happened and a lot has to happen in a matter of just a few seconds from the user's perspective. They're just selecting the subscription agreement you gave them, clicking verify upload document, and the very next thing they see is a buy button. It's that simple. Now we can get into the system from here. I wanted to show you this first because this is what the user sees, and that's the most important thing. You want the investors to be right there and able to buy. But now, even before I show you how to make the token, which again, you're not going to do in the beginning. We're only going to provide that service for the white labelers who have a demonstrable set of projects on their system for, this gives us scalability. And to become a white labeler, we need at least 2 projects in the system from you as an individual. We have a line out the door of people who want to white label at this point. So at this point, everything comes through Thomas and Anton in this blue RWA, and we made one exception for one utility called Acrols who I believe is on the phone with us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Didn't hear a response. We will provide that service for them, but in general, we are shying away from utilities in the beginning because utilities also have a lot more babying. They require liquidity pools, which only some of our RWAs will require. They require liquidity provision techniques. They require automatic buybacks. They require automatic ratio splitting for liquidity injection on percentages. We have all of this. It's quite a wonderful thing. Nevertheless, this is everything in its time, and where we are projecting now is specifically the RWA space. Maybe next week, 2 weeks, 1 month, you can bring us your utility crowd. There's different flavors for these things for very good reasons, only the least of which, Marcus, has to do with fees. But there's even different flavors associated with fees because obviously utility has a lot more transactions. Apple's is a special exception. From what I understand, they want to cater to large clients who understand, that what they're getting into is a piece of like a REIT, multiple real estate assets throughout Ghana. This is wonderful. But at the same time, we are not lending ourselves in this run for microtransactions. Like, do not expect a person is going to buy $7 worth of Acrols coin so that you can make the front page of the African Times that says, wow, poor people can get into really exciting big projects. Now, we enforce that by having absolute fees. They're very low in the scheme of things, but they're not very low if you were a microtransaction authority, right? So we're talking on the order of $10, $20, $50, right? And I'm not giving you the exact numbers, even though Thomas has them in his head already, because again, we are speaking to multiple players in this in this phone call, which was not my original intention. So he can handle the business aspects of this with Anton. Nevertheless, everybody's going to be treated exactly as they should be for their project. That's why we're a .org, folks, because we are undercutting the entire RWA industry. The idea is nobody can be cheaper than us, and nobody's more flexible, and nobody has what we have. It's kind of like the Wikipedia of the, of the RWA space. So let me go on from here. If you are an admin and you clicked this token, because again, you're a project now. We haven't even gotten into the subdomain space where everything you do touches every project in the platform, which you can do as a subdomain owner. We're not at that point. I'm trying to speak to the Tulum hotel property deal right now. That was my original purpose for tonight. So if I'm speaking to the CFO of the Tulum hotel development, for example, I'd say, you are the admin as the CFO, and here's your token, for example. Now I'd say connect as admin. And now I'd say, go do some important things that you need to do. What are they? Well, the most important thing, and it explains it all here to you, these are American regulations here. And they're important because obviously American SEC regulations are more strict than anywhere else in the world. And if our system is comfortable dealing with those regulations, then it can deal with world regulations. So a bit about this. There's two concepts when it comes to the world of RWA. There's secondary market and there's the primary market. And those concepts weigh heavily in SEC guidelines and in European guidelines as well. You have the ability as the admin of your token to toggle the token gating. And token gating means when it's on, that only registered users, whitelisted users, can trade, can transfer the token. So if you click it, it opens up your MetaMask and allows you to toggle it from one state to the next. These are brand new tokens, so you will see these warnings until Blockade gets rid of them. In fact, I just actually literally spoke to them because of my association with Joe Lubin, and they apologized profusely. And they said in 48 hours, anything associated with your address will be removed from these warnings. Nevertheless, they're here to protect you. That's why they're there. And you I wouldn't cancel it. I'd say okay, and it would toggle the token gating, and it costs 12 cents to do that. I've done it many times on earlier versions of the token. So this is something that you would possibly put into the no gating state, and that would be fine, even according to U.S. standards. Why? Because down here, you can have manual registration or self-registration. And we may have some similar issues with this right now as well. There's an estimate gas issue on this because this is a brand new addition through this interface. Essentially, the ideal situation we find is a 506B where your investors will only need to provide loose accreditation by self-certifying by saying, yeah, I'm accredited, I'm US or I'm non-US. And that's called self-certifying. You'd set that mode so that they can self-certify, and they would still be locked in to a 12-month hold. In other words, they'll get to buy the tokens immediately, and no release manager, no release schedule. They'll go right into their wallet, but they'll be held in there for 12 months before that they can move them to someone else, which is really wonderful. I know of nobody who's been able to do that. Obviously, times are changing. People are working fast, but we have this done. This is tested on and working on other versions of the token, even this feature. So if you are in a manual mode up here, and look at this one, no sales registration at all, right? This is not something we advocate, but you as the project owner can do that. And there's a whole bunch of warnings. But anyway, if you were in the manual mode here, you can always add a user address, not the token again, but a user, say he's a US accredited investor, KY is verified. Yeah. You can, by email to our CFO with W2 200K plus deed 2 million equity, right? Something like that. That's, that this actually goes on chain. So register user, same thing. It would typically open up your MetaMask and just ask you to confirm. There'd be no, I wouldn't have to review this alert, but if I'm forced to review the alert and I say I have acknowledged the risk and still want to proceed, got it, and I do that, what's going on now? Now I can hit confirm. So this would actually make the token an accredited. It's meaningless because this is not an EOA. This is a token address. But the point is, you could see that I could confirm that, and it would go through and register this person with this registration note to the EMINT token. So somebody could buy the EMINT token with that address, which is nobody. What would the price be? This is what the price would be. $2 or whatever I set it to. I could even set staggered prices. There are no staggers right now, so that's why error loading staggers. Then I still need to activate the sale, and I need to activate the token. And to activate the token, or you would, if it's the Tulum token, for example, you would just pay the activation fee, which in this case is $500. I'm going to ignore this. This was my old one. And again, on these messages, so I would confirm this one, but I'm not going to do it. We don't want to activate the sale, but I'm gonna do one of them just to show you, because there's no harm in doing it. I'm gonna activate the sale, and it still won't activate because you have to activate the token first. And it tells you that warning, but it should be able to at least change it to active. I've done this again several times. Doing it on the on this phone call is not absolutely necessary, but let's do it anyway. We're gonna actually activate the sales contract associated with this token, and again, review the alert. I've acknowledged. I want to proceed. Got it. By the way, every one of these contracts is verified and on chain. That was my beef with Blockade. Also, I said, you guys are so indiscriminate, and it's defamatory. Actually, when you can just go and look on Etherscan and see these contracts. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So anyway, got it. How do I do this? Confirm. Okay. How many times will it ask me to do that? Certainly don't make it easy. So your transaction was submitted, view transaction. So it's now activating the sale for the EMINT model token, this is the token model for the entire platform, not just our token. And I'm going to show you, here it is, sale activated successfully. Warning, purchases will fail until token is activated, right? Just like I told you up here, okay? Everybody seeing this?
Yep.
Because I'm not getting any feedback. How many people are on
Still
the phone?
clear. No, we're just all taking notes.
Oh, good.
Does anybody have any questions in the meantime?
Let me show a little bit more, and then we can take questions. If I set the price to $3, where I'd have to sell at least 1 million tokens first to do that, you can. This won't work right now in this version. Estimating gas is a fun little non-trivial thing with Ethereum. So let's see, what about just setting the new base price? That will work right now. Close this extension. So I could set a new base price to say $3 for the token. Let's see, I've acknowledged the alert, got it. Transaction submitted, setting, okay. Yay, new base price, $3. Very cool. This is the total number of tokens sold. And I want it to stay at 0 forever, guys, because I'm not selling EMINT. They're only available in a much different way through the liquidity pool after we've purchased a lot from the liquidity pool. And we recommend our models as necessary, assuming you have legal counsel through whom which we can confer, because we cannot provide you legal advice. All we can do is bring you all our models to help you do what you need to do as fast as possible and as cheaply as possible. And all, your purpose is to raise as much money as possible for your projects where people have access to those funds that you generate in as seamless and transparent a way as possible. There's even a button you can press to distribute all the rental income that comes into a certain address, or only 20% of that. And by the way, your token itself is a treasury. Just this token is a treasury address. So if you wanted to see it, I'd bring you to the main website. You'd click the double diamond. You don't even have to log in. You can just click that. And if you wanted to see that controller for that example, this is the controller. These are all the admins that have different executory functions. And then if you wanted to see that token that ended in 90, that might not work right now, but here is the token, which is right here. See that if the token is there, what you want to see is what's going on with that token. And you can't, because we've made so many changes, we have to update this for you. The release manager is irrelevant for you, but the liquidity pool is quite relevant for some projects, and you'll see that. For now, to give you an idea what that looks like, it looks something like this. This is for an old token we did on this platform. DTVC this is the amount left, this is the amount of USDT in the token itself. Now, you might say, how is that even possible, right? In fact, they warn you against that because there's so many people out there that have made mistakes, that have sent money to the token, and they say, do not send money to the token because it'll be locked. Well, guess what? For you guys, it won't be locked. Nevertheless, to avoid that warning, because that warning we can't get rid of, you're not going to want to use your token as your treasury address. You'll use your token sale as the treasury address, like so many projects do. And you'll see assets in there like USDT, USDC, whatever the asset is that you're raising in. So, okay, this is real. There's 729 USDC inside this treasury, and this treasury is actually the token address called DTVC. Okay, this is real. There was also a release manager associated with this. There was also 50 transactions, well, more than that. There's 4,000 people who have this. Now, we're going to get out of this now. I just wanted to show you that it's there. But now I'm going to show you what I would do, what I do. First thing I'm going to do is log out. And what you're going to do first as a project runner is you're going to register on the platform. And you won't register at EquityMint.org. You can, and it will succeed, but you will want to register depending on who brought you into this system. So if Thomas brought you into the system, you're going to register at Blue RWA or Acrel's RWA, depending on which of the two projects we're talking about here. .EquityMint.org, right? You'll just, go here, right? Now that hasn't been approved yet, so that won't work right now. So if you go to EquityMint.org or bluerwa.equitymint.org, you'll see this same screen. Sign in. You will enter your email address because you're going to need to register first. It's actually going to look like this. Register person. Just enter your full name, your email address, and then sign in. Well, next. And then when you hit next, it'll ask you to choose your to either create a key or select your wallet. You will select your wallet, which means you're going to need to download the Chrome MetaMask extension right here. See? Chrome MetaMask extension. You'll need to download that for Chrome. Just use this inside Chrome. Just use MetaMask. While it can work with Trust and others, use MetaMask for now. So I'm gonna go back to sign in. I am already registered on the platform. And you're gonna click sign with key after you've registered, and it's gonna ask you to sign back in again. And so it'll give you a message to sign. And again, this is the Ethereum elliptic curve signature. I always say this is government grade security because most government grade security uses what's called RSA, which is not even as advanced as this. There's still very few projects out there in the world that are actually combining centralized and decentralized structures through the Ethereum wallet, or enforcing it, I should say, not optionally. There is no other option. You can create an elliptic curve key on this system, actually, if you don't want to use a wallet. But then, of course, you will not be able to use the token platform. You can do a lot of other things through Data Cloud OS, but you cannot make a token unless you log in with a wallet. Okay, so now you click sign in, and that's it. Now you're signed in. Now, for me, as an admin of the platform, I adjust things like who can come in through what subdomains. Are subdomains available to the public? Is this available to the public, or does it require me to manually add them? So I go in and I click admin. This is not something you're going to have to do, even as a subdomain, even as a white labeler, as a sub brand. You will never have to ever click in here or do anything like this. Some of those things that are part of the system as a subdomain include like the treasury configs, which include base entity addresses and various fee types. And we'll get into the types of fees next. And who's a member of who's a member of this team representing the actual platform itself. What are their admin levels? What can they do is certain things. These are things that don't concern you unless you wanted to do other things in the platform. If you were Caldwell Black Banker, which we're dealing with also, among others, multi-million dollar enterprises that need their own tokenization system, they may, I'm not even sure if I'm going to have them go into the admin because nobody wants the headache. Even their top tech people don't want the headache and they don't need it. Nevertheless, I show you this just to show you the power of what's possible. Well, these are our model contracts that all do different things and participate in this network. And from here is where I open the deployer to keep the system up to date with the very, very best contracts to serve all our customers' needs going forward, right? And as I said, a token consists of a lot: a controller, token content, issue token, time lock. The time lock's important, right? You're going to want at least 12 months if you're going to do anything in the US. And I've got investors not from the US. I got a $40 billion mineral rights deal, not from the US. And he still wants the 12-month time lock. I said, why? He said, because we want to sell for 16 cents, but then in 2 months after we've sold 10 million, we want to sell for 32 cents. And it's not fair if the people who just bought could sell right away, right? So I'm like, yeah, great. You'll kill two birds with one stone. You'll satisfy Rule 144, and you'll be fair to everybody, and you can keep raising your price in a staggered way. So that's what the time lock is all about. Now, this is the token itself. Max supply, max decimals. You will keep 0 decimals, but you can change that. But you should keep 0 unless your share, I always give this example. I say Tesla stock at $5,000. Don't you wish you could sell a half a share and you can't? Yeah, if you had 1 decimal place, you could sell 0.1 share. And you can do that here, right? But we want to really emulate the real world. So we recommend that your decimals stay at 0. In the case of a utility token, it's a different animal. These things, again, just things you're not going to see. The liquidity pools can be paired with USDC, USDT, Ethereum. There's other things that this does. There's other things that the liquidity provider does. This is a very special contract that does a lot of stuff. and it allows provisioning, automated provisioning from your profits to keep your token value high, right? As a side effect, mathematically, as part of the AMM, by buying more than you sell. And in this case, it's not buying, it's liquidity provisioning. It's actually not buying. It's literally just putting in 50% USDC and slightly more than that in token, or the other way around, to provide liquidity to the pool, which has the side effect of changing the price of the token or keeping the token at the same price, but with enough liquidity that nobody can just, sell $2 worth of token and the price goes down, right? So that's the problem with most of these systems. There's just no liquidity in there, in these pools. So I'm gonna close this because you don't need to be here. Where you need to be is here. And if we do this for you, and we charge anywhere from $2,000 to $25,000 if we do this for you, it's $2,000 for a day of handholding to walk you through and do the whole system with you. If you actually log in and do it yourself, you'll just pay the activation fees. But it's going to be a little difficult for you to do in the beginning. We've engaged a project, a 25K project, which is cheap. It gets 3 months of my time, like an hour a day at the most, to not only set up the token, but make sure everything goes according to the way you need it to go. Because everyone has their little quirks. Everyone has things they want to do just a little bit differently. So now this is where the meeting actually would normally begin. If I was just dealing with Tulum, I'd say, hey, how are you? You want to make a token? Register, come into EquityMint right now and add yourself as an issuer, because that's what you are. That's what you want to be. So let's assume you did that already. I'm going to get, myself in the example here as an issuer, Velios Realty, which has some properties that it owns. It's not just a realtor. And because it owns properties, it has the license to tokenize those properties. So Velios Realty, let's say that's Tulum developers, right? Instead. Are there any projects associated with Velios Realty? Well, there's one right here. Does this project have a token yet? No. You can see there's no controller address. But has it started to create one? Yeah, it has. It started to enter information about what it wants. Let's go into edit. See this button here? That's edit. So now let's edit or add the features of our token. Well, our name has already been brought over. What's the project name? What's our token name? It's the Velios New York Trust. Why? Because if we look at the token description, we see it's got 2 properties in it right now, 32 Jane Street, 54 Monroe. What's the total amount of tokens I want to create? 1 million. What's the class? Doesn't matter. Common. What's the token name? Velios New York Trust. What's the symbol going to be? VNYT. How many decimals? Like we said earlier, 0. Price per share, 100. Could start at 150. What is the chain we're going to launch on? ETH. What is our token info base URL? Where is the subscription agreement held? This is really important. Velios.com/subscriptions. But this actually has to hold the PDF document, not the HTML that explains what it's all about. So it would be more precise to say subscription agreement PDF, to be really clear that this URL, when you click this URL, it's going to download a PDF. It's not going to just bring you to some HTML. It's going to download a PDF. And it's really important that the hash code of that PDF you've already put here. Now, again, you're going to be making changes. So whatever you put here is not that important, but it's helpful to get it right the first time. And the way you get this hash code is you have your subscription agreement already made, less the token address embedded in it. Because this will still be useful because there's 3 verification methods. One is the one I showed you earlier, where it looks for the subscription agreement with a token address in it at this location, right? Whatever location you put here. You see what I'm highlighting? But once you created this document, let's say you don't want to change it later, you don't want to add that token address. What you can do is just move it. Keep the token hash stays the same, but you just move it to this same location / token address. A token address, again, you're going to get as soon as you make the token, and you'll know it, and we'll show you how to get it. And it's what you're going to give to everybody. Whatever that is, you just move the document to that location because we assume you have an admin who runs your DNS, runs your GoDaddy, hosts your website, and they can add a directory that has the same name as the token address, and then do an alias through Apache to download the PDF. So it checks automatically in 3 seconds whether you've done that or not. It's just another verification step. It's just part of our patent pending process. We have 3 verification steps that are patent pending that all work together. So let me put that back and let me erase this. And then if we selected a document like this, like the EquityMint subscription, it actually puts in the token info hash. So it's really just trying to say, hey guys, make sure your subscription agreement is done before you sell your tokens, before you start selling your tokens, because we're not going to let you sell them if you haven't done that much. And that's for your own good, obviously. So it generated the hash for you. You don't have anything else to do except, as I said, afterward, just embed the token and re-upload the agreement again, and save the new token hash for that new agreement, which we'll show you how to do right through the token sales side as an admin, right? So now the other one doesn't disappear, because then that would mean you could do fraudulent stuff. It stays there, but it's just part of a trail. And between both of them, everything verifies and it shows the use of the buy button. So this step is not in vain. It just prepares you for the step to come next. So now we click deploy, and that's it. And here it says, who are you? New York broker ID 1234. I don't know if you did you see that here? You see where it says project super ID, New York broker 1234?
Mm-hmm.
Now, had you put something else here, we're in edit mode already. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I can only add it. I can't edit it. That's very simple change. By the way, just to show you how flexible this system is, this was designed to design workflows. It's not a workflow, it's a system to design workflows, from which this workflow was designed on top of a system to design workflows, right? So it's like a platform on top of a platform, on top of something else, a no-code solution. So it's like 10 years in the making. But what you could do is you could just click this. You see, because obviously, maybe I think I screwed up here. Let's say my broker's license is really different. I haven't deployed the token yet. I can change it here. What's here is not important in the end, though. What is important in the end is what you've deployed, right? This is it's a useful managerial tool to deploy your token. And still, you need to look at this. But anyway, in order to make it editable, so what was this? The project super name, I think it was, or no, it was my ID. So in edit mode, it's showing that I can't edit, and it's even a do not send. So what we're going to do is changes to send only if there's a change that's been made. And of course, I want to be able to edit it. So I'll make that. Now I'm going to save this. And okay, so I saved this. There's some AI in here, by the way, too. A bunch of it for like automating categories and whatnot. None of these have any categories, so it doesn't look as cool as ones that do have categories. We could show you. It's not that important. But anyway, we're going to get the tokens associated with this issuer again. And in this case, there's the one that has not been turned into a token yet, but here we are. We're going to hit edit again. And New York broker ID 1234, look at that. Now I can edit and I can actually upload that change and reload the data. And so now the change has been uploaded. Again, this is just good to have. If you didn't save it at all, you could still manage to find a way to mint your token without saving any of this information. Not advisable. You're going to want to come back to this for a lot of reasons. And at some point, we might enforce it. But for now, it's not enforced. We just want to help you create your token as quickly as possible. And we, Lord knows, we have a lot of other ways of verifying you did what you set out to do. And that's the whole purpose of blockchain, which is transparency and non-anonymity. Not anonymity, but non-anonymity. So just to be very clear, we're providing a real system where people don't want to hesitate before they drop $10,000 to $10 million. Not because they think they're really cool and they have enough money to go gambling in Macau, but because, this could be their life savings. And it's like, wow, they trust the URL because they know you as the project owner. That's beyond our ability to control, right? And your trustworthiness is beyond our ability to control. But we certainly can do a hell of a lot to make sure that if your URL really is trusted and the whois record represents an entity that the investor believes in and knows is real, that's it. That's the hard part, right? That's the real world part that you've managed to get the investor through. That's your expertise. That's what your professions are. Now it comes to my side to say, hey, now let's make sure that URL lines up with the subscription agreement that you set out to make, that you made, that your address made. And that address is what you logged in and signed a message with, and et cetera, et cetera. And so if that URL were not real or controlled by you, then the whole thing wouldn't work. And it can't be spoofed because the token address itself has to be in the subscription agreement, or the token address has to be part of the URL itself. If either one of those two things were not true, then other parties could mimic what we were doing here, and then that would be on me, right? That would be a technical issue. So, okay, so we are going back to deploy now with New York broker ID 1235, as you see here, right? So you're not going to see any of this. Thank goodness. There's too much to see. All you're going to do is see this bottom button, which is auto deploy right here. And that's it. And, in auto mode, on auto deploy, do we want to start fresh? Do we want to resume previous? If I start previous, it would be meaningless because these are new entities right now. But you could see previously we had compiled the controller, the token content, the token sale manager, liquidity pool. So what we want to do. Let me cancel. And if I go auto deploy and start again, liquidity pools, we don't want to skip. We want to actually make a new liquidity pool, pair it with USDC for this token. I don't actually want to do this. I don't want to clutter the space with this token that is not going to be a real token. Although, yeah, because even the base URL is not correct here. You see how it says token content? Well, that's the last deployment. Let me just be certain. This probably doesn't pertain, but let's close this. Let's go back up here. And you notice on the token content, This is correct. Valios.com subscriptions, what we just talked about. Remember I said we wanted to change it? So, just to get you familiar with this, Valios.com subscriptions, I said it would look better to be subscription agreement PDF, let's say, right? To be real, and let's just save that change. Okay, so then reload the data, go back into edit mode so we can deploy again. Okay, so now we're going to deploy, and token content actually says something that makes sense. And okay, so now we go down and auto deploy, and this is not going to change. This is for last deployment. So this can be ignored. The key thing is you're going to want to start fresh. And cannot repop. Okay, because I just made a new controller. Anyway, this starts to compile, and once it's done, you see that it's done, and then it immediately goes right into token content, goes right into token, right into sale manager, right into liquidity pool, unless we're skipping that, because you don't need a liquidity pool for most things. But to take this home, if at the end of the day you plan to provide your investors with a way out where they can sell to the pool in 12 months, it's like having an exchange, by the way. It's a decentralized exchange, which is also known as a DEX, right? Uniswap being the most famous one, but we have certain router pool channels that are acceptable. And by the way, we've learned our lesson, like so many haven't. You know how there's fake tokens that come up all the time, especially if your project is successful or heavily advertised. That would be Reg C instead of Reg B if you're heavily advertised. But these fake pools are not controlled in any way. Well, guess what? Hey, we control it. Every pool has to be registered. So for starters, only one pool is registered, and that's the one that's created here. So if some mimic wants to come by and make a pool, guess what? If anybody tries to trade a token or do a swap through a router, I'm sorry, through a pool that is not registered through our controller as what's called a smart contract entity, it will fail. And it's so exciting to see that, to see one of these, assholes, for lack of a better word. I mean, there's just people you want to strangle, right? That are solely out there to steal your money, right? So this is a huge preventative. And that's what you get when you create this liquidity pool. It's the only one that is going to be used by anyone, because every other one will fail. Now, let's see if it doesn't fail, then they're using a token with the same name as yours, but it's not the same token, right? So that we cannot prevent. But we certainly can prevent your token being on liquidity pools that you didn't authorize, right? And the SEC really wants to see that. So, okay. So this isn't going to work now because we've got a brand new controller. So, and this is not set up for that yet. It will be tomorrow. But this concludes the meeting, I think, for now, at least my portion of the presentation. And I will be ready for questions shortly. There are two phases here, start fresh and start new. In this case, because it didn't get to this first step. This is a manual mode. You won't see that either. This is the only thing you'll have the opportunity to do. The only thing you do have the opportunity to do. And auto deploy, start. And yeah, what's missing now is start fresh because of this one. But that's it. It takes about 7 minutes to get through these steps. And then there's a factory deployer that takes just a couple of minutes, and then it automatically verifies on chain everything. And when that verification is done, by the way, what that looks like is extremely cool. If I showed you, like, we took the token again, like the last token, this one, I press this button, I see it's verified on the block explorer in 2 seconds. But what does that really mean? If you go to Etherscan, you guys are familiar with Etherscan, right? Anybody?
Yes. Anybody else?
Really? In this whole group, I've got one person familiar with
Yeah,
Etherscan.
Obviously, we are.
familiar with Etherscan, yes.
Well, how many of the 7 on this phone
That's
call are
got to be
familiar?
Deli.
We got Thomas. We got Anton. How many other people are familiar with Etherscan here?
Deli.
Yeah.
He's one. I know he's
Marcus?
one.
Is Marcus familiar?
Are you there? He might not be able to talk where he's at.
Okay, but can you hear us, Marcus? If you can give us a signal, maybe just that you're still with us. I for some reason can't see all the
Well,
faces.
he's on an iPad, so he may not have any
Oh,
of that. Yeah, I guess he wanted to see it bigger. But go ahead.
because he told me he was specifically interested in on the with some questions on the subdomain side. So I just wanted to make sure he's still with us. That's all. Who do you see that's still with us, Thomas?
The Krells is there.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's there. You just have to tap participation. Tap your screen.
I'm quite familiar with Etherscan, Block
Okay.
Explorers. Sorry, I'm in a place with background noise, so I was trying to get to a quiet place.
Yeah, that's what I
So I
figured.
could see on my screen. Yes,
Oh,
I'm very, very familiar with it. Yes. Yep.
okay. Excellent.
We took a video of this. We can share it later too.
Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. So, as you know, if we type in our token address here, and you display it, you see the contract is checked, which shows that it's all, it's verified, right? And this happens instantly. Our system does all of this instantly. It deploys and verifies, right? And we're very transparent about our contracts, right? These are all copyrighted contracts, but nevertheless, they're open for everyone to peruse. And we're adding another 10,000 lines of code a day. We've got well over 1 million lines of code for the whole system. So we're not terribly concerned as far as the barrier to entry goes. We're just at the stage here of having some quality projects onboarding with us that are going to get the benefit of a lot of features that in the past would take a year and $500,000 of consulting to get done. So it's just a question of putting these projects on the system. Is there any, who wants to go first? Who would like their token on the system? We can show you possibly within 24 to 48 hours your completed token. You can try it out yourself, start to give it to investors. All we need is your subscription agreement. I believe we have the one for Acrol's. For the Tulum project, we'd need that. For the El Salvador hotel, we need that. And
Okay, any questions? Let's get this part first. Any questions from anybody on what it could do, how it has to do with what you're interested in? If you want to tell Ken what it is that you're interested in doing first, and then you can kind of go into some detail while you have the super brain here.
Hey, I didn't really see. We've talked about like doing, tokenizing 100 to 1,000 homes. Where is that being done? Because that's not a security token issuance. That's more of like a really it's an NFT of sorts. But is that being done in the same platform, or is that being done somewhere else?
okay, so look, I can answer that question.
There
It's a bit misleading because, to tell you the truth, when you say we're tokenizing 10,000 homes, okay, what does that even mean? What I assume it means is you're selling one token that's representative of all 10,000.
If you're going to create a token representative of ownership, there's no economic incentive in that token except for you own it. I know where you're going, but that's a security token. I
Okay.
guess when someone says 1 million homes, that would be in like some kind of a fund structure or some kind of an LLC or something like that. Part of my initial, like the utility side when you started, I'm just not sure where that's done on this platform. I guess that's what I'm trying to
Okay,
determined.
let me go back here and I'll show you. But I want to make something clear that I still don't think is clear yet, and so I just want to clear that up. Did you see down here where it says property NFTs? You see this? Each
Yes, I
property
see that.
can have an NFT, but it's not an essential characteristic. And why? Because any fractionalization, even of a property, is a security. No matter what you say, it is a security. Number one. Number two, let's assume it wasn't, because I want to get past that part of the conversation, because the challenge right now is just making sure we're on the same page in terms of of what exists and why. When you talk about making an NFT, it's a single, forget about collections, it's a single entity. And there's nothing more atomic than a property. And therefore, a property looks nice as an NFT. You're absolutely right. But now, who owns that NFT? Is it an individual or is it a company? I'll tell
Well,
you right now.
it's
I'll
just the hash. It's just the hash represented on a blockchain. That NFT.
It doesn't matter
That's
though. But wait, I'm asking the question for a reason. If an individual owns that NFT, and by the way, we've been doing this for like 2 years, so I am very happy that you asked the question. It's not like I'm in a corner. I'm exactly where I want to be. And Anton is probably smiling because he knows I'm exactly where I want to be with this question. So this is why I really hope the answers I provide are fruitful for you, for all of us. Anton and I started this together in 2017, going down attacking this from different angles. But you're going to find what the problems are very shortly. I hope, if I do my job correctly here. Who owns it is really important, because if it's an individual, they cannot fractionalize it, no matter where they are, no matter what jurisdiction they live in, no matter what the technology can do. Legally, they will be put in jail. They cannot fractionalize it. That NFT must be owned by a corporation, who must then make a subscription agreement that divides that property into shares and pieces. And that is with the blessing of some government jurisdiction. And that's where Anton and I came together in early 2024. And him with all his government contracts and me with the technical know-how. And I said, absolutely, I'm going to make a demonstration for El Salvador. And I'm going to show you right now how the property NFT itself will now have meaning. Because as you said, it's just, and please excuse my French, but it's just a fucking hash code, right? All of these things are, right? A document represented by a hash, where the document is stored, is almost meaningless, but there's something called IPFS that provides the service of storing those documents. We do that too. Because if you lose the document, then the hash itself is meaningless in court, by the way. Somebody's got to have the document somewhere. But this is all incidental. The important thing is, who says that that NFT represents the property? Just because I mint it? Bullshit. It's got to be more than me just minting it. If you look here, I don't know if you can see my cursor moving around. There's a universal token ID here in this property NFT, but you see there's a lot of other things that are very important. The governance level, the partial jurisdiction, and then the national property ID, the national cadastral ID. This is for Central America, by the way, more than anything else. But here's what's more important than anything else: the government authorized public address. This follows what I call a tree structure. This has to go all the way up to the president. This public address, which, by the way, they logged in through our system. By the way, I can show you the El Salvador demo at another time. But if you're about to build a system that's dependent on NFTs, that has no government endorsement, good luck, sir, because it will fail. It's like, this is our next step, but it's not needed for what we're doing now. And you're wrong also if you think that you need giant REITs and millions of properties. No, 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 no. 100-unit building where they just want to pay rents out is perfect. 150-unit building, even a 4-family building where they just want to have 10 owners. Yes, the methodology is that NFT or no NFT, that they take that public recorded deed and they ascribe it to a corporation, an LLC, just like you said. And then that LLC makes a subscription agreement with units where those units represent something. They have to spell it out. They have to say, it's you have ownership, you get exit interests in this too, but you get rental income as it comes in, but we get to pay our salaries first. It's like a real corporation. It doesn't have to be a corporation, it can be a subscription agreement, which is a separate animal. That means that the corporation owns the property, but the subscription agreement is a special vehicle for which one can have an interest in the property. I have several of those with some Florida properties actually that are about to be sold, where I own 55% of the property, but I don't own anything that anybody can see. It's just a subscription agreement where I own 1,000 units of it. It's like an LLC in and of itself. It's like an LLC within an LLC. But that's the real world stuff. That is a perfect example of something that could have been handled with tokens instead of units, so that he could pay me out without an attorney, and then there would have been a lot less fees involved, right? I've got like 7 of those deals actually that I all did before I built this system. Now the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to tell the guy, hey Joe, his name happens to actually be Joe, and he's down here in Florida. I'm going to say, Joe, let's put your next deal on chain. Let's do just make a token for it. How many units are there total? Just make a token. Give me 55% of those tokens. Give 20% to your other partner, 20% to this partner. You'll see how much easier the payout is. You'll just have to get yourself some USDC, and put it into this treasury address, but everything will be verified, everything. And that's a small deal, right? So there's almost a non-incentive to do it if there's only going to be 4 owners. You're right there. It's got to be bigger than nothing. But once you start to get down into the property now points to an NFT, which the system can do, by the way, as you can see here with this property NFT. You can point it to one or more NFTs. In the example I gave you, it's 2 properties. It's 32 Jane Street, 54 Monroe. You can point that to 2 property NFTs, but it's useless until you have the government's endorsement. I have not seen any way around that. It's just a game of cards waiting to fall until my data cloud OS is sitting in the 44 municipalities of El Salvador, the one in Brazil, the few in Mexico that we have, right? Until that actually happens, there's zero use for that. Once we do have that, however, then there's a credibility layer that's added to our private side, and we love it. We love it because then it's not just tied to the URL, and they trust you and they trust the URL, which they got to do that anyway. But now there's a government endorsed NFT that this token actually points to. So, there's a lot for that to happen though. That's 2 years away. Not so much with the work, but there's a lot of bureaucracy. And yes, there's a lot of work too, even though we've got the structures done. It's called a national property manager. That's actually I have live on chain. It's gone through several revisions, and the latest revision is not on chain yet. But that property manager has this, what I call a controller tree, that allows the municipal registration of this guy, this government authorized public address, to go up the chain right up to the national leader. And so that says, yes, this property, this token ID, with this governance level, it is real. It was endorsed at one point with a timestamp by this employee who actually minted it. And there's docs. You see, look, there's docs associated with it. There's property data. There's hashes of photos. There's hashes of actually, this is much best shown to you with the categories. I should show you the El Salvador demo, because each category has its own snapshot hash. So if anybody wants to change just one little piece of data in this category of these 7 fields, let's say, then a new hash is generated just for all 7 of pieces of information. They all go together, let's say. So this is just, I could log out of this and go into the El Salvador demo and actually show you that, but not unless you ask me to.
Yeah, I have a question for you actually. So I think I understand, and I think what you're demonstrating is essentially tokenizing deeds, and it is kind of like a security token effectively for real estate assets.
Yeah, we're not tokenizing deeds. although we are, but that's the government project side of things. That's the
Right.
NFT. Tokenizing the deed is the
Right.
government side of things, where we're providing you an outlet to create your security
Right.
for,
So
for
you're
RWA, for one or more RWAs.
right, but your point is that you're anchoring that in a government endorsed NFT, which gives you the anchoring to the real world asset. Essentially, it's government endorsed, and then you effectively have this data that then is effectively creating a security token based off of that, which is fine,
I
and
think,
I get that.
yeah, I mean, I think that end goal is an end goal. It's a rich, aspiring end goal that is certainly not a necessary one for this to become a powerhouse as is. I mean, look, there's 10 RWA platforms right now. They're all incredibly lucrative. There's a reason for that. People want them. People are
Right. So,
tokenizing everything
yeah.
without
So
the final step.
Sorry, can I jump? Those 10 RWA platforms are mostly tokenizing securities and debt. They haven't really got the real estate piece, the agriculture piece, and there's a reason for that, right? That's a very, I mean,
Um,
I'm playing devil's advocate
yeah,
because
okay,
yeah, I want to be very careful about this.
yeah,
And just to be careful, like art, for example, so the body of legislation, like for example, Brazil, the CVM, you can't tokenize art. It's seen as a form of money laundering. So they're not tokenizing everything. They're starting with the easiest thing, which we've seen like Robinhood, fractional shares of stocks, right? And how that's done is actually kind of smoke and mirrors, but that's a longer conversation.
yeah.
Though go
I
ahead.
have friends using Stobox, for example, out of England, and they've tokenized small REITs, 3 properties here, 4 properties there. Most people, everybody and their brother that I know who have done it with real estate, are doing what they call funds, and those funds have as little as 1 property in it, or 6 or 7 properties in it. They have accreditation standards. They do it manually. They pay $40,000 a year to Stobox to do it, and they white label through it. Um, some of them, 2 of them are coming to me now, and this is all just starting. So I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to say my personal experience shows that there's a huge amount of real estate coming into these systems, but most of them are, classed as funds. And we can go down to the individual unit. What's missing from those systems that we provide? We provide the Rule 144 criteria. We provide the technology to allow the token to sit for 12 months, 6 months, however many months you have, as a primary sale while not gating the token, right? This is an amazing breakthrough that we're able to do that. And the technology has just finally reached a point where people can start to do all these things. That's why the time is now, whereas a year ago they were charging a fortune. They really weren't protecting you too well, token wise. So so if you say what the barrier to entry is, why weren't they doing it? Most of it was the technology wasn't as capable as it is now to do it. And what were the other reasons?
Legal. The law and the culture and the political climate was not favorable. It is now, and
Right, but legal's the big thing. That's exactly what I took, 9 months gearing up for, to make sure that 506, you're doing this according to 506B or 506C, and to make sure we give you the tools to do that. Do you know what our self-cert is? Our self-cert is so fucking powerful that if you are 506B, it guarantees that user signed a message, right, that says that they're accredited and not from the US or from the US. But it also guarantees that they signed a certain document, right? And does it enforce who they say they are? No. But can it? Yes, because Data Cloud OS is also got an embedded form of DocuSign that allows a Canvas signature matching. So are we going to add many more powerful registration components too? Yeah, nobody's called for it yet, but maybe, conversations like this, if anybody is reticent that says, oh, we would if we just had a little bit more, you know, this or that. but you don't need it. You've got services like SumSub that we connect to. SumSub allows a registration through a third-party authority. And then what? So now you can bless you, now you can advertise to the public as Reg C, because you've got a third-party entity, but you're paying $3 per accreditation. But nevertheless, ours is going to be free and just part of the platform. Upload the national ID. In fact, you could do it now. If you let regular users come into this, under the doc side here, here, this is an example of a category. See the details category, for example. This entire detail has a hash that can be uploaded, for example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I'd be keen to explore. So we're in the business of data trading, and data monetization. And we're working on REITs as a category generally, public and private REITs. And particularly with private REITs and smaller operators, our protocol is really geared around data integrity and understanding the sources of data and rating data according to levels of risk. And that could be an interesting overlap, whereby there's various data that can be provided to REIT investors. And one of the areas we're really interested in is DeFi lenders getting into the REIT space. So for us, it's less about the securitization of that, but it's more about having integrity around that information and then making that information available to the market for people to be able to make decisions on that. So that could be something that I think we could explore in terms of having your.
Is that information as a service desirable itself to be a token for you? Where depending on how many tokens
We have a framework for doing that.
availability.
We have a whole information integrity protocol that measures data information based on risk and based on provenance, based on verifiability, and I think it's a big.
One of the things, are you interested in? Because so many people are, right? They have indices or they have data as a service. Where, in this particular instance, what I'm saying is, in the case of a fungible token, I'm saying if I own 10 of your information tokens, I have 10 credits, so to speak, to use your information service. And
Yes.
I have. Okay.
So there's, although in that context, I mean, yes, there could be fungible tokens that represent that give you access to services that are interchangeable across different plays. But I'm more fundamentally interested in the non-fungible aspect, whereby you're able to actually get information around property portfolios and be able to make investment or commercial decisions around those based on the integrity of the information. And then you can decide, whether you want to invest in that portfolio, aggregate them accordingly. It's just provide intelligence services based around information in that sense. So yeah, you could do non-fungible. I mean, sorry, you could do fungible things.
Phone call short, but you
than others.
That's what the tree goes about. That's right. It's non-binary, but it is goes up through a tree structure to the highest domain in the world, right? Which is
exactly. So, but that's a risk factor. That then goes into a factor that is basically used to derive, well, what's the level of confidence that I have in the authenticity.
That's exactly right. And a lot of that comes through you right now, if we're going to go through a token system. So look, not to end this phone call short, but you see what this can do. You see where it's going, and you see that the government is the highest authority, and it's the only way to get there is to have the government contracts. I'm certainly not waiting for that. I have a product now. Do you have any ideas on how we can gain this trust, and I can work with you in terms of getting this verifiability that specifically does not include a government entity, because we're already.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, like credit scores, for example. They're not government entities, but or banks. They're not necessarily government entities, but they give you higher degrees of confidence than other entities. So yes, that is exactly what our model is basically designed to work on a messy world, whereby you have multiple different sources and you can wait.
So what if we told you? So what if I told you right now? I can work with you right now. Again, not with NFT, with tokens. We can do the NFTs. We can, but I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
What if I told you right now? If you have a bank, for me, you have a bank that you know because this is your world. You're in the verifiability world. You're in the credibility world. You are a big guy who is in bed with a bank, and that bank has such a great domain name, Chase.com, and you're willing to give them to me so that it's chase.com/your project name. That's the URL that gets embedded into the token. Gentlemen, we could do this tomorrow. We could then start tomorrow because Chase is backing the project. No, they're not backing the project, but their domain is. So the whole infrastructure is already built for this. You have to vet the person who's going to be using that domain. If multiple parties are using it, then each person has to be vetted. But if each domain is different, you're not just vetting their subscription agreement, and who they say they are. But then I'm just interested in telling them and showing them that, hey, if you have problems because you're worried about 506B, 506C, or Rule 144, don't worry anymore about that.
I get that, and that's what this is all.
And once we do have the government side wrapped up, then we have the nth level of verification. And my purpose of this phone call and any other phone call I have going forward in the next month, Anton Thomas, this is directed to you, must be with projects that are ready to securitize right now. These are projects that want to raise money from investors who love using crypto. Let's say you did. Let's say you had a couple that wanted to do something now or tomorrow. We can give you, and this is something I was against doing, but I guess it's not part of the conversation. As I said, we have a line of white labelers. That's what you would effectively be, and you'd want to be, because the fee structure that would be involved for you bringing them to the table would be one that you're not going to want to talk about with me. It's just going to be automated. So whatever that fee structure is, and we'll take it out of our ends too, so we're still very attractive, because I just added that today. It's called a taker fee, which means it's not just something you add on top, but it's something that comes out of all of our ends. So, but I'm not totally in the dark either. I had a month to prepare with Anton and this whole affiliate structure. We made such a giant, complex affiliate structure right now that we can accommodate you right now. So when I say I'd rather not, it doesn't mean that I'm not capable of it. It really meant that I didn't want to put what is it, the cart before the horse? Horse before the cart. I'm so tired right now. But I can do.
We're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up now, and then we'll have to circle back so we can have individual conversations because we have a lot of people from different groups on. So I'm going to go ahead and close it down, and we'll make sure we get in touch with everybody because I think you saw the power of the platform, and then we'll look at how to reassess what we can do moving forward.
All right, sounds good. Nice to meet everyone.
All right, everyone. All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Good night.